Welcome to study session 10, historical precursor to the international state system. 2, the political empire. 7, Islam. Introduction. In study session 8, we learned that there were 3 successor states to the Roman Empire, which fell in 476 AD, namely the Byzantine and Carolingian empires, as well as Islamic empire. There, you examined the Byzantine and Carolingian empires. In this study, you will learn about Islamic state system as one of the precursor of the international state system. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Discuss the historical development of Islamic states. 2. Analyze the political units of Islamic state system. 3. Describe the structure of the Islamic state system. 4. Identify the unification elements in Islamic state system. The historical development of Islam as an empire. After the fall of Rome, Europe was in chaos for several centuries. Islam emerged out of the crisis of the fall of Rome, founded by Prophet Muhammad. His successors, the caliphs, under the leadership of Muslim armies, conquered in all directions: Syria and Palestine, Egypt and North Africa. And in 637, Jerusalem fell into their hands. They crossed Bosphorus and laid siege to Constantinople, which later fell to the Turks in 1453. It passed westward into Egypt, and Alexandria fell before them in 641. They conquered across North Africa. Early in the 8th century, they crossed into Spain. Eastward, they overran Persia. In about 11th century, the Turks of Afghanistan entered on the conquest of India. Main characteristics of Islamic political units. The Arab conquest was carried out under the leadership of the Umayyad dynasty. The Umayyads set up the capital of their empire at Damascus in Syria. In the new empire, the Arabs formed a military aristocracy with special privileges, which included the collection of tribute from unbelievers. Non-Arabs everywhere in the Umayyad Empire, from Persia to Spain, rapidly converted to Islam. The converts were at first second-class members of the community, inferior to the conquering Arab tribes. Within a century and half of Arab expansion, however, the new Muslims had become first-class citizens and a racial mixture had occurred. They allowed the religious communities they conquered to continue under their own laws. In return for tributes, infidels were denied the privilege of Islamic law. Throughout its history, the Islamic Empire had flourishing communities of Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians. These tolerated sects formed a third class of citizens suffering from some financial and legal disabilities. The first class was that of the slaves. The Persians were particularly disaffected by the continued treatment as second-class citizens after their conversion to Islam. But there were other potential sources of rebellion against Umayyad rule. In the 8th century, the Muslim religious community began to split into 2 groups, the Sunnites and the Shiites. In 749, the Umayyad dynasty fell victim of conflicts among the conquerors. The new Abbasid dynasty was truly international, no longer resting exclusively on the might of the Arab tribe, nor subject to vicissitude of intertribal conflict. The center of the empire was moved eastward from Damascus to Baghdad, and the policies of the Abbasid ruler reflect their adoption of Persian tradition, system structure of Islam. At the head of the Arab community was the Caliph, the ruler of the empire. The Caliph was the titular head of the Islamic world in religion as well as in secular affairs, but he was never a religious leader in the sense that the emperor at Constantinople was the head of the church. Islam did not develop a highly organized hierarchical ecclesiastical structure, and therefore the religious authority of the Caliph remained for the most part informal. In reality, the Caliph was the military and administrative head of the empire, responsible for organizing and leading the army, collecting taxes, and appointing administrative officials to govern the provinces. He maintained a postal service throughout the empire, which served as an imperial intelligence service. Islamic diplomacy. The community of Islam aspired to a single human society in which secular institutions such as the state will have no significant role. There could be political interaction, but no requirement for diplomatic missions between one ruler and another. Theoretically, since non-Muslim states eventually will accept the message of Islam, the need for diplomatic exchanges between them and Islamic communities also will be purely temporarily. Study session summary. In this study session, we discuss the historical development of Islamic states. We also examined the following: 1. The political unit of Islamic state system. 2. The structure of the Islamic state system. 3. The unification elements in Islamic state system. This is the end of study session 10. Thank you for listening.